Chapter 13. The Pits. Susie had preliminary sketches spread across her studio when Hunter appeared in the doorway. She watched his face as he moved among them, leaning in, looking at them from different angles. These are excellent. Coming from the curator of the Kindred Gallery, it meant something. He lingered over the largest sketch as if feeling it more than seeing it. The installation will be extraordinary. He turned to her. Get dressed. Chartrey wants you at the Scientology Center. They assembled in the sanctuary, Catherine looking refreshed, Susie overdressed, Gabrinth attentive and quietly taking notes on his new colleagues. Angel stayed in the shadows, conserving his blood for when he needed to put on a presentable face. Chartrey entered and went straight to business. The Aruna matter. The vials you recovered were vampire blood. Testing is ongoing to determine what else was in the elixir and how it was being used. She moved on without pause. There's a contact I want you to use, Jean, from the King of Clubs. Call her. Tell her you want into the fights. Follow her instructions and report back everything you see. She continued. The couple from the office bar, the pregnant woman and her mate. Her eyes narrowed. Both caitiff, clanless, unsanctioned. The council's judgment is what it always is. She looked at each of them. The woman remains in custody. Our scientists want to determine whether the pregnancy occurred before or after she was turned, which is why she's still alive. She and the fetus will be dealt with in due course. Chartrey opened the hidden door to the basement. The male you will deal with tonight. Call me when it's done. They went downstairs. The man who had introduced himself as Jack at the office door looked up when the door opened, and something in his face changed. Not surprise, but recognition. He had known this was coming. Please. His voice was steady. Catherine opened the cage. My name is Kevin. Kevin Anthony Mello. My wife's name is Elizabeth. He looked at each of them in turn. We didn't ask for this. We have a child coming. Please, just let us go. We'll disappear. You'll never hear from us again. Gabrinth felt he had something to prove. He lunged into the cage, claws out, and it was over quickly. Catherine called Chartrey, then dialed Jean. Jean answered on the second ring and listened without interruption. 1,000 each, just to get in. Meet me at the King of Clubs. Jean was outside, smoking. She led them to a narrow alley between two buildings where there were 4 other figures waiting. Money changed hands, $4,000 cash, gone in a moment. Hoods went on over their heads. Angel quietly confirmed his phone was still in his pocket and said nothing about it to anyone. The car drove for a long time, making many turns, some of them Angel suspected purely for disorientation. By the time it stopped, no one had any sense of where they were. The hoods came off. The pit was underground, low-ceilinged, and loud. The smell of blood was immediate. Near the entrance, a promoter was explaining to newcomers with polished enthusiasm that the fighters were government military experiments, enhanced, superhuman. The newcomers received this with the willingness of people who'd paid enough money to believe it. They weren't just superhuman. They were vampires. Young ones, but vampires. The fights were brutal, humans and dogs against vampires. The vampires heavily outnumbered, and the crowd betting mostly on the humans. Some combatants paid for a sip of something before they had their fight. The kindred all recognized it as vitae and came out of the corner faster and harder for it. The crowd loved this. The crowd loved everything. Angel slipped away into the bathroom and checked his GPS. East Palo Alto. He filed this away and returned without mentioning it. When a vampire went down and stayed down, it was because he had taken more damage than he could heal. These vampires didn't seem to use any disciplines. Perhaps they had never learned or simply had none. They were still strong and durable. Susie noticed that their fangs had been cut, filed, or pulled. Near the end of the night, a young kindred woman entered the pit. She was striking in a way that stopped conversation. Not just beautiful, but luminous, with the quality of someone entirely unafraid. 3 human women followed her in, 2 of them with large dogs on short leads. The crowd surged to its feet. Catherine moved to the rail and caught the eye of one of the challengers. Surrender. The woman's face softened. She sank to her knees and didn't lift a finger. Angel and Gabrinth looked at each other. They had a power in common, and both used it. Each dog turned on its handler. The crowd shifted from roaring to gasping, then screaming. Then a few men near the back shouting strategies that were no longer relevant. It was over quickly. The vampire was the last one standing. Workers came in to clear the cage. The rest of the fights were canceled. As she was escorted toward her cage, she passed close to the rail, glanced up directly at Gabrinth, and winked. Gabrinth was so caught off that he nearly forgot to collect his winnings. It was the only bet he had won all night. They reported to Chartrey at the Scientology Center. Catherine laid it out. The vampires, the setup, the crowd, the blood sales. Angel added the location. Chartrey listened without interrupting. When they finished, she was quiet for a moment. East Palo Alto, she said. Good. This is useful. She looked at each of them. I'll be in touch. They filed out into the night. Gabrinth was the last one through the door.